Hmm. Right. It happens, sometimes we do not have questions and sometimes we do not have something to ask, but still we want to, talk, but if we do not have anything to speak. So,
Yes, yes. So now I am in the river, and in my right side, this side, so that is actually Jharkhand, okay.
hmm.
And in my left side, this side, so it is West Bengal. So now I am standing at the border.
Okay. So how far Jharkhand and West Bengal is from your from this spot where you are standing right now?
Not far. So it is the border. It is border. So here it is border.
Okay.
This side Jharkhand and that side West Bengal. Not far.
Okay, that's amazing. It's quite good. So, do you read books? Do you read books or something?
So nowadays I am not reading books, but I want to read. So I will start reading very soon because reading is very very important in order to improve our English and to improve our vocabulary as well.
A vocabulary, if you read aloud, then it would be beneficial for your pronunciation as well.
Yes, yes.
And yeah, with that view, with that intention, I incorporated reading in my journey. Earlier, I used to take it for granted. I used to underestimate reading because I used to think like, how can someone learn, speaking from reading? It's totally nonsense. I used to think like that. But once I realized that by reading, you will, it will not directly help you in speaking. Rather, it will help you to enhance, your vocabulary, or it would help you to expand your vocabulary, or 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 sharpen your pronunciation, and it would clear your words if you read it aloud. So that's why I started reading as well.
So apart from reading, and what kind of activity do you do?
Apart from reading, I do it on and off. I'm not consistent on reading, but if I talk about apart, except reading, I do listening and speaking. And listening and speaking are something which I do consistently and constantly. I do these things daily, but if you talk about reading, so it's very often I do.
So if I talk about listening, so how do you listen, and what is the best method? So means means any podcast, any story, or anything else. What do you
Yeah,
prefer?
right. I used to watch podcast a lot. I every all the time used to watch podcast, but one day I realized that I know I am learning English from the podcast, but I was not being entertained. I was not having fun watching those. I'm not getting interest in the while watching podcast, because I also needed some, entertain, so I can also be entertained. So I shifted, I switched my the content. So I started watching animes. It's basically a standard form of cartoon. It's not the cartoon, but yeah, it is a part of cartoon. So I started watching animes, and yeah, I do watch animes because in that what you do, like I have interest in watching animes, and I can watch it 24 into 7. So but in podcast in while watching podcast, what problem I was facing, like I was not getting interest in watching
So,
podcast, you know
so it was boring.
yeah, I used to feel kind of boring, and it was like pathetic after some time. Like initially, I enjoyed watching podcast, but over the time, as the time went by, I started losing my interest from podcast, and then I started finding something new, which I can stick to and which I can have fun watching. So I started watching animes, and nowadays, since that day, I've been watching animes, and I'm not being bored. I'm not getting bored of watching animes. So I can watch 24 into 7 if I want.
Yeah. So same here. So I feel boring in podcast. So that's why I prefer, cinema. So I watch Hollywood cinema.
Okay, that's great.
Uh,
That's great. But
because yeah, go on.
but the problem is, in when you watch movies, Hollywood movies, at the time you hardly get their accent. Their accent is not similar to our accent, in
Yes,
Indian
yes,
accent. So if you are a beginner, then you will it would you will having trouble while understanding their accent. So
yes, yes. It
that's
is
why
right.
I don't watch
Yeah,
Hollywood
for a
movies.
beginner, it is very difficult. So I am also facing problem in understanding. Means I don't understand their completely. Means I don't understand their complete accent. Only I understand. You can say 50%, and
Mm.
50% I don't understand anything. So
Mhm.
then also I watch because I love watching.
Yeah, you also, we want something which is interesting and informative as well. So
Yeah.
if you're just watching with the view to enhance your English, so and you are not interested in watching that, so you should not watch that content
Yes.
from my point
Yes.
of view. You should
Yes.
find a content where you are learning English and you are, you are getting interest in that. So you should find that kind of content
Yes. Yes.
that would help you
And
in the long run, I would say.
yes. And if we watch any cinema, so we will learn, situational English according to the situation. What kind
Yeah,
of word is
exactly.
using?
Yeah, right. Absolutely. You are absolutely right.
And if we listen any podcast or any story in audio, so we will be unable to learn means according to the situation. So that is the
Yeah.
main problem,
In
and we
podcast,
will bored.
yeah, this is the problem with podcast. Like when you watch podcast, they just revolve around a particular topic. They do not talk, situational English. So they just talk upon a particular topic, which is useful. Okay, I'm
Yes,
not saying it is not useful, but we want to learn situational English. Not we don't want to speak on a particular topic. We do not have to deliver any speech.
yes, yes,
So watching podcast is good, but if you want to enhance your English actually, so you should go for situation English, and you should start watching movies and comedy shows and or animes, cartoon,
yes, yes.
etc.
Absolutely right. Yeah. And means those who are beginner, so for them, Indian cinema is good in
Hmm.
English. So, so there are many cinema in English. So in English version. So if someone wants to watch, so can.
Hmm.
And Indian cartoon is also helpful for learning.
Yeah, initially, in my beginning phase, I used to watch cartoons. Yeah.
Yeah. So I also watch cartoon. So I watch like Mowgli cartoon. So I loved that one. So that is very interesting for me. Okay. So that's why I watch.
Sorry, which cartoon?
Yeah, Jungle Book Mowgli.
Okay, okay, Jungle Book. Yeah, when I was a kid, I used to watch that cartoon. I used to have a lot of fun watching that cartoon, and I still watch. Whenever I get time, and I used to watch that, and I still watch sometimes. So, and it
Yeah.
is available on Disney in English.
Yeah, and on YouTube also it is available in
Yeah,
parts.
yeah, exactly. You're right.
and it is very interesting cartoon.
Mm. It's interesting.
Yeah,
But the YouTube, the version that YouTube has of Jungle Book that contains advanced vocabulary. So I found myself, sometimes confused watching that. Was the vocabulary which is being used in that cartoon, which is available on YouTube, is very hard to understand.
yeah, it is hard. But in means when I started watching that cartoon, so I did not understand so anything. Okay, so after few months, I started means I started to understanding.
Hmm. Yeah, happens. It happens a lot. Initially you face a lot of issue in understanding the English, but as you start watching that, you start getting comfortable with that language,
Yes,
and
yes,
you easily can understand after a period of time. Okay. So first of all, you have to just give a period of time to English. So initially you will not understand English, but after a point of time you will understand.
absolutely right. I think it is getting longer our conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So okay then we can wrap up this session,
Yeah, also
and
we should wrap
it
up
was
the
lovely
session. So,
talking to you.
so thank you very much. So it was great conversation with you, and I enjoyed a lot in this conversation.
Yeah.
And
Thanks
I
to
hope
you.
we will meet in future as well. So,
Yeah. Sure. Sure. It
bye.
was lovely talking to you. Bye.